The winter sky over Maplewood, New Jersey had already darkened, even though it was barely past 5. Snow fell steadily, soft but relentless, covering the sidewalks in white. The wind cut through coats and scarves like it had something to prove. Claire Whitmore walked anyway. Her boots crunched against the frozen pavement, each step slow and careful. Her oversized coat, too thin, too old, fluttered uselessly in the wind. A faded navy scarf was wrapped tightly around her neck, its frayed ends brushing her cheeks. In her arms, bundled in a worn pink blanket, was her 9-month-old daughter, Lily. Claire lowered her head, shielding Lily from the wind. "Almost there, baby," she whispered, her voice barely louder than the snowfall. "Just a little longer." Lily whimpered softly, tiny fingers peeking from the blanket, her nose pink from the cold. Claire didn't have a car. No bus fare either. And no one left she could call. Just a grocery store a few blocks away, and hope. The automatic doors of Megumart slid open with a hiss, releasing a rush of warm air that made Claire's eyes sting. She blinked quickly, adjusting, then grabbed a cart and gently placed Lily into the child's seat, tucking the blanket tighter around her. "We're just getting what we need," she murmured. She moved quickly through the aisles, her eyes trained on the lowest shelves. Bread. Store brand. Oatmeal. On sale. Apples. Discounted, bruised, but edible. She did the math in her head with practiced ease. $23. That was everything she had. Then she turned into the formula aisle. Her steps slowed. Her stomach dropped. There it was. The only kind Lily could tolerate, hypoallergenic, soy-based, doctor recommended. The one formula that didn't leave her baby screaming in pain, her skin breaking out in angry red rashes. Claire stared at the price tag. $41.99. Her breath caught. She blinked once. Then again. Maybe I can put everything else back, she thought. The bread. The oatmeal. The apples. But she already knew the answer. Even if she returned everything, it still wouldn't be enough. Her hand hovered in midair. What if I asked to pay later, she whispered to herself. Leave my name? I'll come back Friday. Her heart pounded as she reached out and placed the can into the cart anyway. At the checkout counter, Claire unloaded her items one by one. The cashier, a teenage girl chewing gum, didn't look up. $47.83, she said flatly. Claire opened her wallet. Crumpled bills. Loose coins. Everything she had. She laid it all on the counter. I only have 23, she said quietly. I'll have to put the formula back. The cashier reached for the can without a word and slid it off the counter. A man in line behind her sighed loudly. Claire's cheeks burned. Lily began to fuss, her small cry cutting through the noise of the store. It's okay, sweetheart, Claire whispered, stroking her cheek. Mommy's got you. She paid for what she could, just under $11 after coupons, and pushed the cart toward the exit, her shoulders hunched, trying to disappear. Outside, the snow was falling harder now. At the far end of the store, near the coffee kiosk, someone had seen everything. Daniel Rhodes stood beside his cart, one gloved hand resting on the handle. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark wool overcoat that probably cost more than Claire's monthly rent. In the cart sat his 5-year-old daughter, Isla, swinging her legs and sipping apple juice. Daniel hadn't planned to notice. But he had. The hesitation in the aisle. The way Claire stared at the price tag. The quiet humiliation at the register. Isla tugged on his coat. Daddy. Yes, sweetheart. Why doesn't that baby have any milk? Daniel didn't answer right away. It had been for years since his wife died. For years of meetings, balance sheets, and late nights. He provided. He protected. But the softer parts of him, the parts that used to ache, had gone quiet. Until now. Can we help them? Isla asked. Daniel looked at his daughter. Then toward the doors, where Claire had vanished into the snow. He nodded slowly. Yes, he said. I think we can. He turned the cart around and headed back to the baby aisle, his stride purposeful. Isla watched him, curious. Are we getting the milk now? She asked. Yes, Daniel said gently. We're getting the milk. He stopped at the exact shelf Claire had stood in front of minutes earlier. The same can of formula sat untouched. He took it without hesitation. Then, on impulse, he added fleece-lined baby mittens. A package of soft dinner rolls. From the hot food section, he grabbed chicken noodle soup and a container of mac and cheese. Warm food. Comfort food. Outside, the cold hit instantly. Daniel zipped his coat and scanned the parking lot. He spotted Claire at the bus stop, standing beneath the small shelter, arms wrapped tightly around Lily. Her lips were pale. Her shoulders trembled, not from weakness, but from cold. Daniel approached slowly. "Excuse me," he said. Claire turned, startled, instinctively pulling Lily closer. Daniel held out the paper bag. "I think you dropped this." Claire frowned. "That's not mine." He smiled softly. "It is now." I can't accept this," she said quickly. "It's not charity," Daniel replied. "It's empathy." She hesitated. As a father, he added quietly, "I just wanted to help a mother." Before Claire could respond, Isla peeked out from under Daniel's coat. "You're Lily's mommy, right?" she said brightly. "You look like a princess from my bedtime book." Claire's breath caught. Tears welled before she could stop them. She reached for the bag with shaking hands. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Daniel replied. Snow gathered on their coats as they stood there. The bus still hadn't come. "Where do you live?" Daniel asked gently. Claire hesitated. "Maple and Fifth." "About a mile." He nodded. "Let me drive you." "For her," Claire said softly, looking down at Lily. "Just for her." Daniel opened the SUV door. That night, beneath falling snow, two lives quietly shifted, though neither of them knew just how much yet. The apartment building sat between two shuttered storefronts on a quiet street where snow piled along the sidewalks like forgotten promises. Daniel parked his SUV in the narrow lot and cut the engine. The sudden silence felt heavy. Claire shifted Lily against her chest and fumbled for her keys. "I know it's not much," she said softly, almost apologetically. "But it's warm. And safe." "That's more than enough," Daniel replied. They climbed the narrow staircase, its steps creaking underfoot. Claire pushed open a faded green door and stepped aside. The apartment was small, one bedroom, a living area, a kitchenette, but spotless. A soft lamp cast a warm glow over second-hand furniture arranged with care. A faint scent of lavender lingered in the air. Daniel noticed the details right away. A patchwork quilt folded neatly over the couch, stitched from old shirts and floral fabric. A bin of handmade toys in the corner, paper towel tunnels, bottle cap trucks, yarn puppets. A stack of children's books, well-loved and dog-eared. This wasn't poverty. This was effort. Claire laid Lily down on a blanket on the rug and removed her coat. The baby immediately grabbed her toes and squealed. Isla knelt beside her, eyes wide. "She's so little," Isla whispered. Lily clapped her hands like it was a compliment. Daniel smiled without realizing it. Above the couch hung a single framed photograph. Black and white. A young man in uniform stood before a Humvee, helmet tucked under one arm. His expression was calm, steady. Daniel stopped. Something about the face tugged at him. "That's my grandfather," Claire said when she noticed his gaze. "Sergeant Thomas Whitmore." Daniel's chest tightened. "He raised me," Claire continued quietly. "After my parents died. He was everything good in my life." He looks strong, Daniel said. He was, she replied. He passed a few months before Lily was born. Daniel nodded, but his attention lingered on the photo longer than necessary. Claire went into the kitchen and returned with 2 mismatched mugs. Cocoa, she asked. I add cinnamon. Sounds perfect. They sat, Daniel on the edge of the couch, Claire in an armchair across from him. Steam rose between them. I was in college once, Claire said after a moment. Business administration. I wanted to work in non-profits. What happened? Daniel asked gently. She gave a small, humorless laugh. Life. She told him about the pregnancy. The boyfriend who left. The scholarship that vanished. Her grandfather's death. I tried to balance everything, she said. School, work, motherhood. But life doesn't bend just because you hope it will. Daniel listened. He didn't interrupt. Now I'm a full-time mom and part-time everything else, she finished. Across the room, Isla lay on her stomach, whispering to Lily, who babbled back happily. Their laughter filled the apartment. Daniel felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Home. Later that night, after tucking Isla into bed, Daniel stood alone in his dark living room. Snow tapped against the windows. He went to the closet and pulled down an old cedar box. Inside were letters, medals, and faded photographs. His father's handwriting filled page after page. One letter had always stayed with him. He unfolded it slowly. August 3, 2004. The convoy hit an IED outside Mosul. I was pinned, bleeding. I thought it was over. Then someone pulled me free. A soldier, Sergeant Thomas Whitmore. He stayed until the medics came. He saved my life. Daniel's breath caught. He stared at the name. Whitmore. He pulled out his phone and scrolled until he found the photo he'd absent-mindedly taken earlier, the framed picture above Claire's couch. Same man. Same eyes. Time folded in on itself. Daniel leaned forward, elbows on his knees, the letter trembling in his hand. I won't repay this with money, he said aloud. I'll repay it with something that lasts. The phone rang the next afternoon as Claire folded laundry beside Lily's playmat. Hello? Miss Whitmore? This is Janet from the Maplewood Veteran Support and Outreach Center. Claire froze. Yes? We'd like to invite you in for a conversation. A position has opened. And there's a new grant program we think you'd be perfect for. Claire sank onto the couch. Yes, she whispered. Absolutely. The next day, she walked into the center wearing borrowed clothes and shaking hands. Janet smiled warmly. A grant was established recently. In honor of Sergeant Thomas Whitmore. Claire's breath hitched. He was my grandfather. The grant covered training, a paid position, and college tuition. Why me? Claire asked. Because legacy matters, Janet said. Claire cried all the way home. The invitation arrived a week later. You are invited to speak at the inaugural ceremony of the Whitmore Grant. The hall buzzed with voices when Claire entered, Lily in her arms. Then she saw him. Daniel stood near the front with Isla. Isla spotted her first. Lily, she squealed, running over. She hugged both Claire and the baby tightly. Can you be my mommy too? Isla whispered. Daniel watched, emotion thick in his chest. Claire's speech was simple. Honest. My grandfather taught me that sacrifice doesn't end on the battlefield, she said. It lives on through kindness. The room erupted in applause. But in the back, someone watched quietly. Veronica Ashford. Her eyes narrowed. And the whispers began. The conference room at the Maplewood Veteran Support and Outreach Center felt unusually quiet. Board members sat in a neat half-circle, folders stacked in front of them, coffee cups untouched. Claire sat at the far end of the table, hands folded tightly in her lap, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. Across from her sat Veronica Ashford. Polished. Composed. Impeccably dressed. "I believe," Veronica said smoothly, "that for the sake of transparency, we should re-evaluate the selection of this year's Whitmore Grant recipient." The words landed like ice. "There have been concerns," Veronica continued, "about Miss Whitmore's connection to the anonymous donor, Mr. Daniel Rhodes. Some feel personal relationships may have influenced the process." Claire's stomach dropped. Before she could speak, a chair scraped back. Daniel stood. He wasn't wearing a suit this time, just a charcoal sweater, sleeves rolled up, but he filled the room effortlessly. "If we're talking about transparency," he said calmly, "then let me be clear." He placed an aged letter on the table. "My father wrote this in 2004 while serving in Iraq. His convoy was hit. He was trapped under a burning vehicle. A soldier pulled him free and stayed until medics arrived." Daniel looked directly at the board. That soldier was Sergeant Thomas Whitmore. The room stilled. "I didn't know who Claire was when I first saw her," Daniel continued. "I saw a mother returning baby formula she couldn't afford. Later, in her home, I saw a photo on the wall. I recognized the face. The name." He paused, steady. "I created the Whitmore Grant to honor a man who saved my father's life. Claire was selected not because of her relationship to me, but because of her relationship to him." Silence followed. Claire rose slowly. "I didn't ask for special treatment," she said, voice quiet but firm. "I didn't even know this connection existed. My grandfather didn't save a man expecting his granddaughter to be rewarded decades later." She lifted her chin. "He did it because it was right. And I'm here because I choose to live by that same standard." The board chair nodded. "I believe this matter is settled." Veronica stood abruptly and left without a word. 2 years later, sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows of a small house on Willow Lane. Laughter echoed from the backyard where 2 little girls chased butterflies between rows of wildflowers. Claire flipped pancakes at the stove, wearing a soft robe, her hair tied in a messy bun. Her phone buzzed. "Board meeting confirmed. Executive Director agenda attached." She smiled. Daniel walked in, hair still damp from his morning run, and kissed her cheek. "You're going to be late tonight," he said. "You're making lunches," she replied, swatting his arm playfully. From outside, a voice called, "Mommy Claire." Her heart lifted every time she heard it. Later, as they walked through the park, Isla looked up at Claire. "I wish you were my mommy when I was little," she said thoughtfully. Claire squeezed her hand. "But I'm here now." Isla grinned. "That's better." Daniel wrapped an arm around Claire. "They needed you," he said softly. "And so did I," she replied. They walked on together, for lives woven into one. Not by charity. Not by debt. But by kindness freely given.